They often say there's more than one way up the mountain. The Ronin usually chooses the road less traveled. It is often a lonely road and often a dangerous road, but it is the most rewarding in terms of what you find out about yourself and those around you. This is where we discuss the trials, tribulations, and methods that those Ronin use to overcome those obstacles on their way, the Ronin Code.
Pretty much what we're talking about today, guys, is you two being some of the best examples I know of not having to necessarily wear a hat as far as like a title goes and being able to adapt to multiple environments.
What? Real quick, when I found out that Scooty's on this call, I was like, why am I on this call? You don't want to like ease into this and like put me with someone else maybe? Like.
So this is the beauty of why this is being done, because there are qualities that are intrinsic among creative entrepreneurs of all types that they all share that express themselves creatively in different ways. But that is true. Like, girl, you were in Nigeria for, I didn't even know if you would ever come back, doing some other whole business before this Halfsmoke thing. Then you come back. I just happened to run into you at a bar in DC one night and I was like, oh, you in the US again? And then now you pushing ButterMeUp. That's the common quality I saw between you guys. Plus the fact that I've known you both long enough to know that you guys just sincerely like being able to develop
I feel cool
ideas.
being in the same category as Scooty. I'm lit now. I'm like, yeah.
Hey man,
What
breakfast sandwiches is the way.
So I've seen Scooty do so much in 10 years. So.
Right. So the concept that I kind of want to discuss is called being prepared to be unprepared. I have a unique viewpoint into that when I'm working with people as a trainer, because physically, as soon as your body is doing something well, I have to throw something at you that you don't do so well. And being prepared to adapt to a situation is a skill in itself, just like the act of adapting is something important. I feel like it's an underlying thing that people tend to kind of overlook. You two seem to be able to do that well. Michelle, kind of starting with you, the ButterMeUp thing looks fire. It looks amazing. My cholesterol jumped like 10 points watching, but I'm definitely a breakfast sandwich kid, so I understand that. I guess I want to knock it off with just kind of understanding what was it that went into something like that coming out of this situation?
I mean, I think this quarantine and this pandemic, I feel like everything is how you look at it. You can take this time and, be down and not productive, or you can do something. And I also think that being productive means whether it's you're sleeping more, whether you're having more fun because you weren't getting to do that before, whether you're catching up on Netflix, or starting that business, whatever it may be. To me, that's productive if you're enjoying yourself right now and you're making some kind of wave in a part of your life. If you're working out more, if you're indulging more, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. So, I work at Halfsmoke and I'm a part of the Halfsmoke team, and I've been here about like 8 months, and it was kind of like a fast track into the restaurant industry. And Andre's wanted me to join the team for years, and I've always wanted to own my own restaurant. So what better place to learn than here, with someone that supports me? So there's no real politics involved. It's like, hey, like, what do you want to do? I know you want to just sit here and have smoke this whole time. And so we talked about this diner that I've always wanted to have. And funny enough, before this whole thing in November, Andre was like, online delivery is the future. You should really consider doing this you should start on like Grubhub or Uber Eats before you do a brick and mortar. And I'm like, that's not what I want to do. I like hosting people and having people together, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, just do, he sent me all these links, like do your research. Like it's what we need to start worrying about. And then look what happened.
Right.
The future came way faster than we thought. We weren't prepared in a way because we didn't really focus on online delivery. Halfsmoke is a place you come to. For real. It's not really like a place you necessarily always order food from, but he's been saying that we need to become that too. And so we started, but we didn't finish, but we may have been unprepared for how quickly it happened, but in a way he started preparing already because he was already researching how other places do this. Virtual kitchens in New York are a big thing. A lot of these 5-star restaurants have a small, it'll be like a fancy Italian spot with a whole pizza shop running in the kitchen that like none of us even know about. It's the same address though, and on Uber Eats, it doesn't matter. So with the breakfast idea, he was like, let's just do it now. There's no breakfast in this neighborhood. We have a full kitchen. He's like, let's run 2 businesses out of one place. And who doesn't love breakfast, right? Like Halfsmoke
Right.
is harder to sell because you might be like, I don't eat sausages. You might think there's no vegetarian options, blah, blah, blah. But like everybody loves a good breakfast sandwich.
Right.
And all our
Me.
suppliers are local.
All day.
So all our suppliers are local. So we're also supporting local businesses. And then sales have increased. So I was able to hire more people. So it was like a win-win-win
Yeah.
all around. And, you know, it's woman-owned, it's Black-owned. There's so many elements that are going to involve community. So it's really not even about the money right now, although I've sold about 1,100 sandwiches this week
Nice.
too. But, you know, I had a talk with Modi yesterday where I was like, I want to do a ButterMeUp weekly playlist featuring a different friend every week. And the playlist should be all whatever makes you feel good when you wake up. And he was like, you can house it on Spotify. I would love to be the first person because that's cool. Like, all right, let's just say it's Scooty. Like, here are Scooty's like 1 hour of jams that make me feel good, all genres, whatever it is that like when you wake up, I don't care if it's like a mix of gospel music, whoever it is that makes you feel good. Everybody needs to feel good right now. You're in the house, you're not around people as much. I think a lot of us are doing some self-reflection that could go in different directions. Some of us may not be feeling that good, and that's like what ButterMeUp is about. I don't expect you to be eating these like 4 times a day. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I would think.
I actually did that before, and I got in real trouble with my doctor, and I was a vegetarian for like 3 months to undo the sandwich damage. So, no, you're right. I would if I could.
I actually came down that joint, like, randomly. I came down there yesterday to come get a sandwich. Yeah, super funny.
Speaking of creating something out of nothing or out of thin air, Diet Starts Monday being a wildly successful pop-up that ended up running way longer than you guys expected. Other stuff you've been a part of, like Sandlot. Diet Starts Monday was one of my favorite, concepts ever. One, because the story behind it is so dope. The idea of what the actual Diet Starts Monday phrase represents and how it's so common for so many people. You're connecting people on multiple avenues, plus creating a space where it's not really a bar, it's not just a restaurant, it's retail. You get a lot of DJs from the community you can bring through and kind of realistically promote a lot of connectivity with this one spot. Talk about kind of what went into that and the ups and downs of making that into something where you didn't necessarily expect it to go, I assume.
Well, the concept, you know what I'm saying, like behind Diet Starts Monday, you know what I'm saying, like was all Davin and John. Like it was their concept that they established, you know what I'm saying, like on their own that they wanted to do together. I was coming on, you know what I'm saying, like as a complimentary piece, you know what I'm saying, to kind of just help out, but not officially a part of the team, the ownership, nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like in the beginning. It was just like, okay, these dudes are like, John is my friend at the time, and Davin is my, you know what I'm saying, my business partner or whatever. So I want to do whatever I can do to support them. The same way I would do with anybody. Same reason why I'm on this call. Michelle, you and I, we've had tons of conversations, you know what I'm saying, going back to trying to get projects and things like that done. That's just who I am. And, you know, in the midst of it, you know, the brand started making sense a lot more to me. And I had an opportunity, you know what I'm saying, like to be able to open up a spot. And I thought that was, you know what I'm saying, like that was going to be the level up, you know what I'm saying, like for me. Like after you've been doing events at other people's places for so long, it's like it just, you know, that split, you know what I'm saying, like it look real different, you know what I'm saying, like when you have your own. And when I say split, like typically, you know what I'm saying, like when you're any type of promoter or anything like that, you usually have some sort of deal with the business that you're occupying, whether it be a bar percentage, maybe, you know what I'm saying, like a split of the door, whatever the case may be. And, you know, I felt like with a lot of the businesses that we were patronizing, you know what I'm saying, like we were bringing the mass majority of the business to those venues. And the only way that you can level up from that, you know what I'm saying, to make it make sense is, you know what I'm saying, like just by owning your own space. Because then at that point, it's like I can negotiate whatever it is I want because I'm taking on 120% of the responsibility. And, you know, with that, you know what I'm saying, like it sat in my mind, you know what I'm saying, like for a while. And I was like, you know, when I come up with the right concept, I was like, you know, everything will kind of fall into play. And, you know, when John and Davin, when they came up with the brand Diet Starts Monday, and I was like, you know, it would be dope and complimentary to this brand is if we made a brick and mortar, but we did something that nobody else has done. Turn it into a hybrid space and make the brand more lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So not just clothes, but like make it a space, you know what I'm saying? Like where people could come to, you know, kick back, enjoy themselves. Like, you know, we can get off these clothes and while eating and drinking, which is the shit that we do anyway.
Right.
And, you know, it was just wildly successful. And, you know, it was something that we wanted to keep around for a while, but, you know, just the way that, you know what I'm saying, like that business, you know what I'm saying, like, you know, just falls like where, you know, just like this COVID, you know what I'm saying, like you always have to constantly, you know what I'm saying, like pivot, or the reason for this conversation, you know what I'm saying, like being able to adjust. And that was an adjustment. We were subleasing a space. We had already gone a year and a half past what we originally negotiated. And, you know, you stay, you know what I'm saying, then you locked into a 10-year, you know what I'm saying, like you locked into a 10-year lease. So imagine you know what I'm saying, like signing a 10-year lease and where we would be right now with COVID and like the construction on 14th and U and all of that. Crazy.
Right. Well, that kind of leads me into another aspect of what happens when you're the type of person who someone wants to call in to get their insight or to get their guidance or to get their extra brain power just in general. When it comes to molding an idea, you know, again, I'm going to make that Last Dance reference. I always tell people at the end of the day, on that Jordan team, Rodman was still a top 50 all-time player. Like Rodman had to be Rodman. Pippen had to be Pippen. You know, the finale just happened. You see this dude with half a back walking on the floor, damn near dying every time he moves. And like he said, which was really interesting, his presence of being there was better than his presence of not being there. And basically where I'm taking that is, what is it that you're chasing? Someone's telling you like, yo, this is the wave of the future. Let's work on this. And then all of a sudden, boom, it's the wave of now. It's no longer the future. The idea comes to, you have to have some type of intrinsic thing that you're chasing out of yourself or maybe out of the environment. You discuss being able to help the homies out or put the community into something that you know you're a part of or you don't see being represented, so you want to be the thing that's represented. I would like to ask you again, Michelle, what is your real why for all this?
I'm chasing freedom.
Nice. Okay, that's
like
facts.
I could never go corporate anymore. Like follow these rules from someone to give them put money in their pocket, and they're judging me every day. And look how many people lost their job right now. I think now I have the opportunity to put on the people that I want to put on. It's not even like a big scale yet, but you know, like my photographer, videographer is Glenn. He's from Maryland. He went to Howard. He does great work. I choose him before I go choose anybody else. T-shirts, I get them from my friends nearby. You know, I try to just put my friends on. Like, I'd rather put money in your pocket than put it in a stranger's pocket if you're giving me good work. And I'll tell you, like, hey, you could do better with this or do better with that. And I also believe in paying your homies too. Like, I'm not one of those people who are like, just get this for me for free. I'm gonna post it on Instagram for you. You know what I mean? Like, they have things to do. So I think that's a level of respect that you can have if you pick the right team. So yeah, I'm chasing freedom. I'm not trying to work with nobody. And like with Andre, you know, I'm part of his team now. Like, I'm a partner with him. So it's not like, he's very much like, what makes you happy? And he was like, I know it's not money anymore. Not that I'm like balling, but he's like, it can't be money, because just money alone, like, we're all past that time in our life where we want to keep that job at this school or, you know, whatever career path we have. Like, I think the money will come. I mean, yeah. I've read some things that you've like said, Scooty. I always watch your Insta stories, and I think it's important that you talk about like it wasn't always this sweet for you. Like, it wasn't always this great for you. And I think people need to see that more to understand that, like, you didn't start yesterday. You put in work to get to where you are. And I think sometimes nowadays people just want to see what you're doing now. You know, they see Scooty posting things, running all these brands, starting all his own things, but it wasn't always that easy. Like,
it still ain't that easy.
And it still isn't. It still isn't.
Honestly,
I think you used to be in education, right?
Used to be a dean of students.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's real though. Like, and that's why like having that intrinsic motivator is so important. You know what I mean? Like, as far as I go, and again, I reiterate, I do not enjoy working out. It's very interesting to a lot of people because they look at me and be like, yo, B, like, why don't you promote your training services online? I'm like, bro, because the training is just the way I facilitate being able to build people. You know what I mean? There's an inside and an outside to that. If what I do to enrich people happens to be helping them be healthier from a physical aspect, there's some very real parallels between physical discomfort and overcoming those obstacles and the mental discomfort and overcoming the obstacles of chasing freedom, right? Because chasing freedom itself is a risky business. And unfortunately, most of us have been taught by the society we live in to be afraid of those risks and therefore become part of the machine, as you were talking about. As somebody who is always about going for the risk and just trying to see that come out to the other side, Scooty, I point to the example of when you guys first opened up and you had the whole controversy with the naming of the drink and people weren't liking it and they were trying to come down on you guys. Those are part of the risks that I think a lot of people are afraid to take, and you kind of build up a skin to it, as she spoke about. Speak to us kind of just a little bit on some of those projects and how you learned to build up that tough skin over time so that when those things came up and you were already at a certain level where there's more risk involved with it being an issue, you're able to navigate that and kind of continue your track upwards.
I don't really, you know what I'm saying, like think that I have tough skin, you know what I'm saying? Like I really like, you know what I'm saying, like I'm very much like everybody, you know what I'm saying? Like I still have my days, you know what I'm saying, like with things, you know what I'm saying, like bother me. And even, you know what I'm saying, like with that particular situation as it pertains to like the Bill Cosby and everything, like that was still a lot to be able to get through. But, you know, I post a lot about, you know what I'm saying, like my character and who I am, you know what I'm saying, like as a person, like being a better person, you know what I'm saying, like every single day, inside and out, and genuinely approach every situation, you know what I'm saying, like with the thought of it's not just about me, you know what I'm saying, like it's about everybody. Like even if I get things wrong, what they portrayed that to be, that was never the intent, right? But even if somebody took it, you know what I'm saying, like as being wrong, people that know me notice that I didn't have to say much.
Right.
People that were bashing me were people that didn't know me. And all the people that spoke for me were all people that know me and know my character. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, to be judged or, you know what I'm saying, like, or whatever, you know what I'm saying, like, it's just very important, you know what I'm saying, for you to be, like, mindful of your character and who you are, you know what I'm saying, like, as a person. And I think that if you focus on those things, I think that everything else kind of just, like, takes care of itself.
Right.
Like, you know, I mean, like, that's, I mean, I don't even know if that even answers your question, but that's just what I, that's what I think of.
That's exactly on brand. Like I always tell people, like having a very strong sense of the reason for where you're at or who you are as an individual does a very good job of kind of shielding you to some of the pitfalls that
no
come.
one is perfect, but you can always be perfect in your intentions.
Right. That's
So
it.
if your intent is always to do the right thing and to do right by people, you know what I'm saying, like, then things will, you know what I'm saying, like will always end, you know what I'm saying, like in a positive way.
They do tend to work out that way. That's very real. And I point to the fact that us three are on this call for that exact reason, right? Like I told the story real quick of how me and Michelle met. And honestly, it was just on some real recognized real. She was like, yo, you're just cool. Let's just keep in contact. Let's just be cool. 10, 12 years later, full circle, we come back to where she's back in DC. I'll never forget. It was the first event I was doing with Sheck and Mitch at Park. I was just jumped on because Sheck had moved back to the DMV area and was like, yo, B, I ain't been around. You mind helping me do this event thing here and here? And I'm like, all right, sure. Next thing you know, Michelle was like, yo, I'm coming into town. Came super deep, made me look amazing that night. Because everybody's like, how did this dude just show up and have all these people come? I always tell people, you add some faith, some persistence along the way when you hit those little walls, and you almost operate on autopilot. Your body starts to draw itself towards the situations that are going to benefit you. And you're able to see things for different outcomes than other people can. So your perception of some obstacle that comes up may not be an obstacle, may be an opportunity. Case in point, her with the sandwiches. Case in point, the publicity that comes off of some so-called negative press and skyrockets Dice Stars Monday into being there a year and a half beyond when it was supposed to be. And that's what I think is really interesting about both of you guys and your ability to do that. So the next question I would ask then is, what is something that inspires you guys to kind of continuously move forward beyond, I mean, you said, like you said, money isn't the thing anymore. Freedom really is what you're chasing, Michelle. Everyone looks at people like that as inspirations. Who are some of your inspirations?
A lot of times when I think about what inspires me, it's the people around me every day. I feel like we always want to name the greats, right? Like Michael Jordan's inspiring and Kobe's inspiring. But I'm usually actually inspired by the people I see day to day, you know, that have one person, one staff here. He's from Southeast. He has 3 kids. He, was locked up for a long time, and this was his first job after he got out, asking to learn more and do more. He's like, everybody loves him at Halfsmoke, and it's inspiring to me that he took a little and turned a lot out of it. That's inspiring to me in terms of just hard work and dedication. And like, I mean, he was a dishwasher, like cleaning the bathroom and washing dishes, and now he's dealing with customers and ordering for Halfsmoke, and he knows how to make everything on the menu. I don't even know how to make everything on the menu. He knows a lot more than I do, and you may not think that when you see him. He has tattoos on his face. Like, people will judge you without knowing really what you've been through. I would always put him on my team, and if he can do what he's doing with what he has, I really have no excuse for myself. I don't have kids to take care of right now. I'm just one person, so he can wake up every day and take care of home and get here. To me, that's a big deal. I also find inspiration in people who don't follow the straight path. I mean, I think it's very easy to stay safe, and and it's okay. It's not for everybody, for sure. Like, there's nothing wrong with just kind of following your career path. And if Scooty stayed a dean, that's cool. Like, that's great. That's plenty to be proud of. But, yeah, it would have been impactful. But like, I think it's a big deal to be like, you know what? I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna go in this other direction. Or if you got fired from that situation and just kind of making it work after, like whatever your situation is, I think that's inspiring. Modi inspires me. I feel like he's this kid from Rockville, who, he lived a good life, went to Sidwell. His parents are successful, and him doing intellectual and things like that, those weren't things that his parents thought were cool. It's like, what are you even doing right now? Like, you're supposed to be following this path and doing that. So, and it could have failed. I mean, that's a big project to try to put together, get money from people to put, things like that. Or I think some people who are even just starting a party, that stuff is scary, because what if nobody shows up? You know what I mean? Like, I think anyone who just takes an idea and gives it a shot, you won already. Because everybody else is just wondering what's gonna happen with that idea. What's gonna happen? You actually went and did it, and even if the shit didn't work, I'm sure your 5 best friends went, and y'all still had a ball and got drunk and whatever. You move on and you do something better. Like, I don't know. I just think people you're putting yourself out there. So if I'm not the one that's gonna go on stage and sing, who am I to judge the person up there singing? I didn't do it. I'm obviously scared. So who am I to say anything?
I was gonna ask Scooty if he agrees with that, because I actually agree with that as well. I try to find the small things around me that people aren't, like you said. Sometimes people tend to try to pick the most grandiose situation to use as inspiration. They don't realize how many little things they're going past in their day that they could be using. There are days I don't feel like getting up. I'm tired, you know what I mean? But if there's a mom of 4 who, after being a professional and going to work all day and got these 4 kids to come home to, still finds a way to get that workout in and be healthy, there's no way I can act like this is too hard for me to do. I've heard the story called The Field of Diamonds. I've never ever heard of this, where it was about this farmer in Africa. It's a little anecdote. This farmer in Africa, and he was trying to get on the diamond rush and decided to sell everything he had and go forward and look for diamonds. The dude he sold his land to, decided, the land was worth having at that, something worth having. So he spends the rest of his life going to look for these diamonds and ends up not really finding anything. Whole time the dude he sells the farm to finds diamonds all over the land, just because he was deciding to look at every square inch of it. You know what I mean? They looked ugly on the surface. When he starts polishing these rocks that he's finding in the river that look weird, he figures out there's diamonds all over the field. And sometimes, like you said, people aren't appreciative enough of the circle they have around them, or they're not opening their eyes enough to see what's in front of them for them to actually be able to springboard off of. Scooty, do you agree to that point? You're one of the people I know, as you famously said, where if I hit your phone, you're going to answer. No matter how many different things you got going on, you make time to make sure that you still connect with the people around you or the people.
Like, Scooty has the same phone numbers, bro. I'm not. Right.
Call the crib, same number,
yeah.
same hood.
I mean, and for real, for you, like, you're a great example of that. Like, you find ways to turn every situation into the situation where everybody should be inspired and or happy to be there. And that's kind of how that Rock Creek Social was, like, something we'll never see again in DC. Like, I don't think we're ever going to see that the Rock Creek parties, like, recess.
Yo,
I don't know that people can recreate that.
so much. Scooty, I just texted you to just test that, right?
I know you did. I
Just to test it out, like,
what is she texting?
I had two numbers for Michelle,
I have
too.
3 numbers for Scooty.
I didn't know which one to hit up either, though. That's actually real funny.
I have a 240 number, and then
That's it. Yeah.
Okay, that's the number. Oh no, this other number is the same one. Okay, yeah, I have 2 numbers for you. But
like,
Rock Creek Social was like, I mean, that was my introduction to DC. That was my introduction
epic,
to
for
DC.
real. Like, you know how many people know each other just from going to those events on Tuesday? Bro, my baby, I'm with Rochelle's partly because I showed up on a Tuesday one time, bro. Like, that's really how far that goes. So I also say this.
Why is everybody so good looking in DC? I was like, what is this? So I was like, everybody in here, the girls, the guys, everyone's dressed nice, and you don't have to wear a suit. Oh my God.
Energy is the thing, right? Like, energy is really transferable. I point that out in your partnership with Jameson. Bro, I'm not going to front. I know for a fact I did not drink JMO so much before you started talking about it. Like, that is, I don't care what nobody say. Wasn't nobody drinking JMO that much before Recess Tuesdays and Scooty started pushing JMO as the drink of choice. And now, if it ain't got JMO, I don't even want to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's what made that part. Well, let me go back for a second.
Yeah,
I definitely 120% agree with what Michelle said. I'm inspired by Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Like, and at one point, you know what I'm saying? Like, in my life, I was when I was younger. You know what I'm saying? Like, but when I got older, you know what I'm saying? And I started going through this whole entrepreneurship and things like that, and like running my own businesses and ownership and everything like that. I started getting inspired by the people who were starting stuff out, who talked about an idea and then actually follow through with it. Because I probably have 100 conversations a week, no lie, 100 conversations a week with people that have ideas that never come to life, that never, like, after that conversation, like, it's like next week they'll call me and be like, you know what I'm saying, like some new idea or whatever. So like when I talk to people that actually sit down and say, like, look, I got an idea. I'm thinking about doing this. I'm thinking about doing that. And I may, you know what I'm saying, like, give them my opinion on the idea, may give them some help, may not do anything. I may just be a listening ear. But then when I actually see, like, them, like, website, you know what I'm saying, like, coming out, or they're like, hey, Scooty, send me your address. Like, I'm getting ready to send you something. I'm like, what are you sending me? Like, don't worry about it. You know, you'll get it in the mail. And it's like a small letter, like, hey, I actually did start this business. Like, those are the people that inspire me, because my position is always like, I want to be one of the gatekeepers here. Like, that is, you know what I'm saying, like, for me, I want to be an inspiration, you know what I'm saying, like, for people to help them, you know what I'm saying, like, get over that bridge. So when I see people get over that bridge, I'm like, oh my God, like, when I wake up in the morning, it's like, yo, I got to keep going because of people like that.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, nah, for real. Related to that, those personal relationships and that networking you build with people is key to that, because it keeps you being able to see those people within a split second, being able to hear from those people within a split second, right? Like, this is the reason why specifically being in contact with both of you guys over the years has been fantastic. Because, like you said, the breakfast sandwich thing is a real deal. That is an emotional attachment I have. So that joint actually, like, spoke to my soul. And the simple fact that I met this young woman by freshman year of Ohio State off a random weekend, and it ends up turning to something where full circle 10, 15 years later, we're able to sit down and have this conversation and talk about how that matured you as a person and how you turn that into this avenue and that avenue. I say that only because, you know, they always say how hard work is one of the things that really matters. That hard work is part of the team of success for each person, just like that personal relationship networking aspect is. Because talent is everywhere. The opportunities aren't. Sometimes you have to create the opportunities based off of being able to take that leap and say, you know what, I'm going to just go to this thing because I don't know who I'm going to meet at this thing. I famously used to go to New York by myself and just go out and, like, Ludlow and some of these cool neighborhoods and just have conversations, because you end up meeting people and you end up staying in contact with them simply because, like you said, one, the strength of your character, and two, you start seeing designs and ideas come to life. You realize, all right, that's the direction and that's the type of person I got to keep around me. Luckily for me, that ended up being people in the extremely successful creative entrepreneurship side and some of the CEOs. Like, if I didn't decide I was going to take a 9 p.m. client, I wouldn't have trained the CEO of Wedding Wire. He would have introduced me to the executive vice president, JBG Smith, who wouldn't have gave me a fitness facility that I'd be able to train his entire corporation out of. You know what I mean? Like, those things start out with me saying, I'm going to meet this dude at 9 p.m. 2 days a week. who the hell wants to be working out at 9 o'clock? I would rather go home. Do you think that it is a personality trait at this point? Is it something that you consciously practiced? Or is it something that you could easily just, I guess, find in another person as far as like a counterpoint? Do you feel yourself being drawn to other people naturally at this point? It's just automatic?
I think I'm just open to like, I'm open to talking to anybody. I feel like in general in the world, right? I feel like there's something to gain out of any person, you know what I'm saying, like that you encounter, any person that you walk by, or, you know, you sitting at a bus stop, or you walking into a restaurant, you stand up. I believe that there is something, you know what I'm saying, like to gain, you know what I'm saying, like from those people. I think there's something that those people can gain from you. So I'm always open to dialogue with anybody.
And a lot of times people forget to apply the idea of what they could be doing to help that other person when they're trying to meet new people, right? Like, it's not all about taking. Sometimes it's about giving, as you just said. So Michelle, like, you're unique in that because you took that and got international with it. I'm still mind blown off that whole process and like how that happened. So speak to your personal relationship building and how networking has played a role for you.
So, like, growing up, I was never, like, cool. I was always a nerd. I never hung out with, like, the popular kids. I was pretty much sat at, like, what we would consider back then, like, the misfit table, right? I always was dressed fresh, but I was not cool. That makes sense. Yeah, but I was not cool. It's like, oh, she dresses nice, but, like, she don't even, like, she got good grades. Like, she's just real, like, kind of, like, geeky. And I never cared. Why? I have no idea, but I never, like, actually cared. But when I talk to people, I'm just myself, and I don't really judge you. I don't know what you're about to say. Some people, they'll be like, oh, like, do you want to talk to Scooty because he has, like, whatever number of followers? Or do you want to talk to him because, I don't know, you want to know how he's got partnered with Jameson because you're someone that wants to pursue something with another liquor brand? I don't know. Like, people, I hate to say it, and I've seen you touch on it, Scooty, but, like, it's like this clout chasing thing that people do, and that they think, like, Scooty is not cool because a lot of people know him. Like, that's not why he's
facts. He's cool because he's literally just cool to people.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people who, like, for whatever reason, they have a great Instagram feed or great photos or whatever it is. They seem a lot cooler than what they are. And to me, cool is like, you know, you have substance. You are doing some real things. You're not just talking all this noise online and whatnot. Like, you actually have physical things that you're working on. And, you know, I believe that those who give are never without. So I feel like everyone, I treat everybody the same. Like, I don't care if it's, again, for lack of example, whether it's Michael Jordan or this college basketball player, I'm just like, they're the same to me. Like, they're the same to me until I learn maybe more about their character, like that work ethic, or how they treat other people who they surround themselves with. You never know who's who. Like, that girl that walks in the room that everybody talks to, you know, there's that other girl who's quiet on the other side, probably has the same offer, but, like, you don't see her because maybe she doesn't put herself out there. But maybe she has different goals. That's why she's not putting herself out there. At the same time, she may be missing out on opportunities, but she's going to attract the right people, in my opinion, at the right time. If she's doing, if, like he said, if her intentions are good, I think good is going to happen to her when it's supposed to. Like anything, like, again, Dire starts Monday. If that was happening right now, I mean, like he said, look at 14th Street. It wasn't supposed to happen right now. It just wasn't. If I opened the brick and mortar last year, I'd be, like, my restaurant would be in month 6. Like, what are we doing now? Like, everything's shut down. So I think that if your intentions are good and things will happen to you at the right time. I talk to everybody, and I always have. I've even had, like, certain people that I know, they're like, oh, why are you talking to that person? And I'm like, why? Like, why not? Right. Unless they're like, you know, they did some obviously shady stuff, whatever. But, like, just because they don't have 10,000 followers, 50,000 followers, that's like a person right there. Like, who cares? Like, those are not, these numbers that we see online aren't necessarily what makes somebody cool by any means at all. Like, maybe you're popular because you can afford to buy every new thing that comes out. That's great for you, but, like, that's not what makes you cool to me.
Facts.
At all.
I mean, personal value is something that I think is created based off of what that person brings to the table from an energy perspective, from a mindset perspective, what they can add to your personal database as far as what you could add to theirs as well.
I'm very much open to dialogue for people from this area, just because I feel like it's my responsibility. Like I'm 38 years old. I'll be 39, you know what I'm saying? Like in a month. And, while I'm very much still relevant, I'm very much still an artist. I'm very much, you know what I'm saying, like still working and producing new projects and stuff like that. Like, I believe that that's only one side of it. I think the other side is that, we're still a very young city. And me being one of the people that is a little bit older, it's my responsibility to be there for anybody that needs me.
Right.
So, whether it's a person, you know what I'm saying, like that catches me outside, I might be smoking a jack and they were like, hey, listen, man, I just wanted to holler at you about whatever. Like, I got to always be open, you know what I'm saying, like to those conversations, because I know for a fact that there weren't any Scooties, you know what I'm saying, like when I was their age. I always talk about, like, I became the OG that I needed, you know what I'm saying, like when I was younger than I didn't have. So, like, knowing where I came from and what it took to get here, it's like I gotta be ready, you know what I'm saying, like, and I gotta be willing and open, you know what I'm saying, to being, you know what I'm saying, like a person for people to come up to and talk to and get advice or whatever. You know what I mean?
So, Michelle, do you feel like that same aspect is just tied into your need to want to be free and kind of want to be able to put as many people on as possible? Like I was saying, it's that intrinsic motivator, not just meeting people, but just also believing that each person themselves has value. And that's unfortunately something that I do feel like people tend to overlook, right? Like people used to joke about the bro, let's build. But like, yo, like, unless you're willing to have a conversation, you're never going to know what that person has to offer you or who they may know, you know what I mean, that you could be benefiting from. And kind of that leads me into this last point where I have this belief that dreams aren't supposed to be realistic, goals are. And we kind of get that mixed up a lot, right? Like if you dream small, there's no way that you're going to be able to set a big goal and get it done. But if you dream big, there's a bunch of goals between something that's at 0 and something that's trying to get to 1,000. But between 0 and 10 is only 10 numbers, you feel me? And I try to remind people that dreams are supposed to be hyperbolic. But how was your process, Scooty? Are you definitely like hit the ground running? Do you just start reaching out to people? Like what's your real thing?
There is no like segue between my dreams and what my goals are. I think that when I dream about stuff that I know that's never going to happen to me in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff that like is like, it's not even me. It's like a person that I was in another lifetime or something like that. You know what I mean? Like those are the type of dreams that I have that are extremely like fictional.
Nah, for real, like I said, they gotta be crazy. Like they're so wild that you're just like, where did that even come from?
Yeah. So those things do not, like, my dreams do not like affect like my goals or like my, like I don't gain, you know what I'm saying, like inspiration, you know, none. It's literally like when I have thoughts about business or anything that, it's all action. It's always like I start to put like things into motion. And sometimes though, like for me, you know, like I think that I'm a different type of person, right? So I'm like I'm very much, you know what I'm saying, like a businessman, but I'm also an artist in a sense of like I visualize, you know what I'm saying, like these things in my mind. And sometimes, you know what I'm saying, they don't happen, you know what I'm saying, like overnight. So me like putting things into play, it might take me like 5 or 6 years, you know what I'm saying, like for things to happen or whatever. But for me, like that's like making things happen. So as soon as it comes to my mind, it's no dream. It's like, yo, it's a thought. Does this make sense? It does make sense. All right, it doesn't make sense yet, but I have these 2 or 3 pieces. Let me just go ahead and just jot this down like real quick. Let me write this down and let me just not forget it. You know what I mean? Like that's usually how it works. My dreams are definitely like they on some other shit.
Right. I asked that because Albert Einstein famously said that the human imagination is the most valuable thing that we have, because everything comes out of imagination. And building up your ability to do that is something that I've seen from the OD super successful CEOs to the creative entrepreneurs who come up with stuff left and right and got projects on projects on projects. I like being an idea factory myself, and I always tend to dream real crazy. What about you?
Hold on, but is that imagination or is that foresight?
All right, so here's my theory. I'm gonna smart brother y'all real quick. Here's my theory. I think it's foresight, because if you are dreaming about something that is aligned with the intention that you have, like that good intention, that good purpose, that dream ain't a dream. It's just a vision of something you haven't yet made happen. So my idea for this is, because I was a psychology nerd in school, deja vu, in my opinion, are those moments where you are subconsciously having a vision of some event happening, and then you consciously become aware of it when you have that event happen. Because we have all heard people say, like, because what makes a kid who's 6 years old say, I'm gonna go to the NBA and I'm gonna be the #1 draft pick? And then on draft night, he's sitting there like, yeah, I told my mom I was gonna do this when I was 6 years old. That was foresight. That was no longer a dream. That was literally a vision this kid saw for himself. But the trick is you work backwards from that, like you said, by starting with action. You know what I mean? Michelle started this earlier by talking about she wanted to get a restaurant going. There's no way you knew this was going to be your introduction into running a food business. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. Amongst a pandemic, you're sitting in there coming up with an idea. It's like, oh shit, breakfast sandwiches. That's not what's around here right now. You know what I mean? There's no way to pinpoint those things, but action behind some nice, huge, hyperbolic dream, I feel like always turns into the reality. So Michelle, how often do you think that plays a role into what you come up with?
I think that everything you guys said, but I think another part of it too, at least for me, is that when the right people believe in me, because I think sometimes I may not believe in myself or my idea at times, where I'm like, damn, should I really do this? But like, I forget which friend of mine, it might have been Modi, who was like, I think it was a tweet like way back, where it's like, yo, if there's something your friend's talking about and you think they can make it happen and you really believe in it, like, you should tell them, because they might want to hear it more than you actually realize it. But, you know, we all can get a little prideful or scared to kind of talk about that idea. But like, if you see someone doing something good, you should tell them. Like, even if you don't know them like that, you should tell them. Because that might be that push that they needed to really turn that vision into reality. Because sometimes you do question yourself. It's natural, like, to be like, I don't know. It's like Andre believed in me with this ButterMeUp thing more than I did. Like, I would have probably kept pushing it longer, and he's like, nah, like, you can do it. And like, him saying that and also kind of showing that, like, you can't fall because I'm here. Like, the worst that can happen is that it doesn't work. We still got Halfsmoke. Like, just do it. You know, by myself, I think I would have pushed it longer. I would have started making excuses. But one thing that never changed is my vision for it. I always wanted it. I do believe that if you keep thinking about it and you, not just thinking, it's a mix of action too. It can happen for you. Now, it ain't gonna happen in a year. I've been talking about wanting to own a restaurant for more than 8 years. But 8 years have now gone by, and here we are today. And so I never stopped believing that I could do it. I mean, I think it always starts with you, but there's some people around you who like need to tell you that they believe in you too, whether you want to admit it or not. It helps.
It's interesting because that ties directly back into what we were talking about before, right? Where curating your circle, curating those personal relationships matters. Because you have to have those people around who, like Scooty was saying, who actually find joy in seeing other people succeed as well, right? Like people who also see that as inspiration for them. And then you guys start to feed off each other. You can build this power circle, as it's called, simply off that as your intention, even though you're individually looking at different things that you're trying to achieve. And that is 100% why I brought you guys both on today. So gonna wrap up. I wanted to say thank you guys a lot for joining me. This is 100% everything I thought it would be. We definitely got to discuss kind of the ins and outs of being yourself and being yourself unapologetically, but also without bounds. You know what I mean? I went through all those arguments with my parents for years and years and years. And now she's sitting here like, yo, you need somebody to help you with your legal, like, you want, you know what I'm saying? But like,
sometimes they can be the last ones to kind of
so that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, it matters whether or not your vision is so big that it gives you something to constantly chase. And that's what's beautiful about both of you guys, because I know coming out of this, we'll see something even better, something different, and you guys will adapt to it. So you guys have anything else you want to say? Plug the socials, Michelle.
You two should definitely come get a free sandwich. I can bring it outside, curbside for you guys.
Whatever has the most cheese on it.
I will be there tomorrow. I will be there tomorrow. ASAP.
Just tell me what time, and I can run out with it.
Okay.
And then, ButterMeUp DC, Halfsmoke DC. I'm always down to help anybody with whatever they're working on. You got questions, you can always find me. I need to know what your personal training sessions are looking like right now, because I definitely got about like 30 pounds to lose.
Now that it's over Zoom, and I ain't got to pay rent for that, but there's the facility, you know what I'm saying? I can chop the price enough to help everybody out. But like, look, I laughed about it before because I'll never forget. Scooty had hit me up and he was like, yo, B, like, so what's good with the training? And it's that moment, right, where you're at that crossroads. You're like, all right, I'm going to help the homies out, but my schedule is also wild. And like,
I love workout Scooty, FYI, just for the record.
Oh yeah.
Like
you said what?
Going through, I love workout Scooty, FYI. Like when he was doing that phase with Jim Jones, I just could not stop laughing because Scooty was just so so honest about like being aggravated and like this is some bullshit. Like like just try to do it.
Straight up, I tell people
it came from a very, very honest place. Like all that shit. It came from a very honest place, and now I'm just like super fat, but it's all good.
We gonna get the Zoom workouts going, y'all. Don't worry, I got you for the ultra low. Scooty, what you got coming up, man? Survival.
I got some stuff, you know what I'm saying, happening with Rock Creek coming up. Some stuff that we're gonna do virtually. Definitely crazy, you know what I'm saying, like that we're talking about, you know what I'm saying, like Michelle and ButterMeUp. Like we're definitely, I have a link on my in my story right now where I'm asking people to submit their favorite small businesses. I'm thinking about a plan for my birthday and how I can support like a one business for every year, you know what I'm saying, like that I've been born. Which would be 39 businesses.
That's crazy. That's a dope idea.
Yeah, and then, you know, hopefully, you know what I'm saying, like if COVID ends at some point, you know what I'm saying, like when the summer's still in, you know, the new Sandlot will be open. And just a bunch of stuff, you know what I'm saying? Dive starts Monday, you know, everything.
Beautiful. All right, man. Thank you guys for coming on. You know what I mean? Like you said, as soon as things start to turn around, I'm guaranteeing we'll all be back together at some point, talking about some other mad ideas. You guys have a great day.
Absolutely. Peace out.
Bless.
Damn, this game is so cold. Once you enroll, take it slow, dog. The faster you go, there ain't no hope, ain't no float, dog. From passing up dough to doing shows that we host, y'all, to leading the town. Moving like the speed of sound. Now tell me why you mad, what got you steady sour? This the usual for us is Eddie Bauer. I'm just trying to live it right, it ain't far-fetched like our test, my